Tonight, huge, dangerous surf from Hurricane Bill sweeps visitors to a national park in Maine into the sea. I'm Russ Mitchell. Also tonight, it's the final lap in the race to get cash for clunkers. 24 hours left and dealers' showrooms are jammed.
Everybody wants to make sure they get in under the wire.
They are acrobats in the air, the top guns of the air shows, where attendance is way up because the economy's down. And in the age of sports cheating, meet an athlete who made an honest mistake, then turned himself in.
This is the CBS Evening News with Russ Mitchell.
And good evening. Hurricane Bill is now slashing the waters off northeast Canada, but in this country, the storm has claimed at least one life after sending huge waves and terrifying rip currents up and down the Atlantic coast. One swimmer died in the rough surf in Florida. And tonight in Maine, the search is on for survivors after a rogue wave swept a group on the shore out to sea. Randall Pinkston is in Martha's Vineyard with the very latest. Randall, good evening.
Good evening, Russ. We've seen it whenever a hurricane passes. It's sort of a tradition. Spectators come to the coast to watch the waves. Everyone thought Hurricane Bill was over, no threat. But today in Maine, at a place the locals call Thunder Hole, a tradition turned to tragedy. Eyewitnesses describe it as a scene of chaos and terror. A park ranger estimated 1,000 people were standing on a rock at Maine's Acadia National Park watching the surf when a rogue wave suddenly swept over the rock, washing spectators into 55-degree waters.
It was actually a rogue wave resulting from a groundswell that were 20, possibly more than 20 people were involved in this. 9 people were taken to the hospital at Mount Desert Island, and 3 people were swept to sea.
Although Hurricane Bill stayed several hundred miles out to sea, meteorologists warn large waves and dangerous rip currents from Florida to Maine are still a threat.
If 2 waves come together at exactly the right place, that can cause bigger rogue waves to form, and those are very dangerous.
Until the coast is clear, swimmers are being told to stay out of the ocean. In Daytona, Florida, rough seas lashed the coast, and 20 miles to the south, a 54-year-old man drowned while body surfing. Up the coast in Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina, rip currents sent lifeguards to rescue at least 50 swimmers.
I just stay within reason, make sure I keep the kids in my vision, my line of safety here.
The Coast Guard in Maine says they will continue to work and they will continue to search until they've found everyone who was washed into the water. Russ?
Randall Pinkston in Martha's Vineyard, thank you very much. Overseas, massive wildfires continue to sweep through Greece. Thousands of residents are being told to evacuate. And tonight, the race is on to keep the flames away from the antiquities of Athens. Sheila McVicker has the latest.
Fueled by high winds, dozens of wildfires are burning through the suburbs to the north of Athens. Started on Friday, the fires quickly spread across more than 25 miles. Through the night, residents battled to save their homes. Only if 1 million Greeks come and help could we manage to put this fire out, says this resident. As the fires drew ever closer, people fled on foot. So far, there have been no casualties, but many homes have been lost and 30,000 acres burnt. Greek officials have called this an environmental disaster. The fires have destroyed vast tracts of forest. Securing life and property is the first order of business for firefighters, said the Greek Interior Minister. I do not underestimate the environmental catastrophe, but life comes first. We spoke to Nicholas Vafiadis today, who's on the front lines of the fires for the Greek TV station Antenna.
The fires were so wild that they could not be controlled. Right now, there are many fronts. The wind is gaining speed now as we approach the sunset. It has been the Black Sunday for Greece, for Athens, because the sun was covered by a huge smoke.
Smoke so dense it was as if the sun was eclipsed.
Despite the strong fight of the firefighters and even of a lot of volunteers, many of the people try to do it themselves. What we have is really an eclipse of hope.
In the past, investigations have shown arsonists deliberately set fire to protected forests to free land for construction. Now the strategy is for firefighters to keep the flames from reaching the historic heart of Athens, the cradle of Western civilization. And tonight, as hundreds of volunteers, Army conscripts, and firefighters try to fend off the flames, all thoughts are on that battle. Sheila McVicker, CBS News, London.
Also tonight, the countdown is on for the end of Cash for Clunkers. The popular program is set to end at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. As of Friday, dealers had sold almost 500,000 vehicles under the plan, bringing in more than $2 billion in rebates. But that's expected to grow after a wild weekend for car dealers. Tony Guida has more.
Bells are ringing at this Honda dealer in New York. Every bell, another new car sold.
I've never seen the showroom in the 27 years I've been here this busy.
At this Toyota dealer in Maryland, salesmen are hip deep in clunker deals.
That's the title and lane release.
This is where all the clunkers are.
The back lot of Christian Gomes' Ford store on Long Island is 60 deep in clunkers.
Vehicles are gone. It has emptied the shelves.
The government's Cash for Clunkers program invigorated comatose car showrooms. The biggest winners were Toyota, GM, Ford, and Honda, together racking up about 2/3 of the sales.
I'm very excited about the gas mileage.
Richard and Stephanie Miller didn't plan on dumping their clunker, but their 16-year-old Explorer was wheezing after 153,000 miles.
She gave us a lot of good years, but she's had it.
So the Millers went shopping Sunday. 90 minutes later, awarded $3,500 in clunker cash and a $1,500 rebate from Ford. They were the owners of a bright red 2010 Ford Fusion.
I voted against Obama, but the man has a lot of imagination.
At this Toyota dealership in Silver Spring, Maryland, Charles Kerner put his 14-year-old Windstar out of its misery to get a new Corolla for his daughter. Kerner's motivation? Simple.
The $4,500 cash back.
Like many government programs, Cash for Clunkers has been a nightmare of red tape. Dealers also complain that Washington is snail-like, coming across with the cash. Just 4 in 10 deals have been reimbursed so far.
We have about $5.5 million out there. I'm sure the federal government will make good on it sooner or later, but just not knowing when and for how long that money will be hanging out there, it's just not a very comfortable way to feel about that.
$3 billion tax dollars. That's what the Cash for Clunkers program has cost.
The government has done just about as much as can be done for the automobile industry since they came around for help last November. Now we have to get the economy going, and they have to restructure and sink or swim.
Cash for Clunkers has been catnip for what used to be called Detroit's Big Three automakers. But if they're to flourish going forward, they're going to have to find magic on their own. DOT confirms Cash for Clunkers will end Monday night at 8 p.m. Russ?
Tony Guida at a car lot in Queens, New York. Thank you very much. Although Hurricane Bill, as we told you about, swept past Martha's Vineyard, it did force the president to delay the beginning of his vacation. The first family arrived today for a week of rest and relaxation. The president will receive the daily national security briefing, but the White House says family time is the major item on his agenda. What will not go away while the president is on vacation is the health care debate. Howard Dean is the former head of the Democratic Party, a former governor, and a medical doctor. I spoke with him earlier today about his prescription for national health care reform. There has been a lot of piecemeal health care legislation passed over the years, but how optimistic are you, first of all, that we're going to see a comprehensive health care bill passed in this session of Congress?
I'm pretty optimistic. I think the president has staked his administration on it. I think Congress really wants to do it. This bill's already passed 4 out of the 5 committees that it has to pass. So I'm pretty optimistic that we will have real health care reform by the time we're done.
We're hearing the words public option a lot. For those Americans who still don't fully understand what that means, can you quickly give us a definition of public option?
Sure. It's very simple. It's the ability of Americans to choose between a private for-profit health insurer or a government public health insurance option like Medicare. It's essentially allowing people under 65 to buy into Medicare if they prefer not to be in the private health insurance market. And Medicare can't be taken away from you if you get sick, and it moves wherever you do, and it stays with you if you have a job or if you don't have a job. So there's a lot to recommend it.
The president has hinted that he may take the public option off the table if it means getting a bill passed or not. You are against that. Why?
Well, I think if you want real health care reform, you have to have a public option for the people to choose from. It gives people employment insurance even if they don't have employment. It cuts out a lot of the return on equity and the huge CEO salaries that you're paying for when you pay premiums to a private health insurer. But some people will prefer to stay in the insurance market, the private health insurance market, because they like their coverage, and that's fine too. That's the nice thing about the president's bill is you get to choose.
We have seen people across the country very angry at what they call a flawed government takeover of health care. They're concerned about the cost as well. In fact, if you look at the president's poll numbers, they have dropped as far as his handling of this health care issue has gone. What is your advice for the president?
Stick to it. People value strong leadership, and I still think Bill Clinton's got the best political mind in America. And he said a couple of times last weekend, once the president signs this bill, his numbers will go right back up again. The president set out to reform health care. I think he intends to finish the job, and I think he's just hoping that Republicans will help. But if they won't, we can do it ourselves.
Governor Howard Dean, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Russ, thanks for having me on.
Feeling pinched by economic worries, Americans are not straying too far from home for vacations this summer. Leisure travel is reported down more than 2%. Where vacationers are flocking in huge numbers, air shows. Bill Whitaker went to one himself.
The Navy's Blue Angels, top guns at the Salinas, California Air Show. The precision piloting, wings at times just 18 inches apart, never fails to wow the crowd.
So this is work. Yeah, it's work. Some people say it's pretty fun work, though, that's for sure.
About the only thing climbing as fast as the Blue Angels, attendance at air shows across the country this year, expected to hit almost 14 million, up 20% from last year. More than 50,000 at Salinas on this weekend.
The struggling economy has prompted people to stay closer to home and to look for cost-effective entertainment alternatives for their family, and air shows are both of those.
With the economy trying to pull out of a tailspin, the price is right. Here at Salinas, $20 for adults.
Kids are free, right?
Yeah.
Family friends, the Langs and the Finnemores, were planning to go to Disneyland for young Nicholas's 5th birthday. Then they did the math. Disneyland per family,
$1,000 minimum. We figured why not stay close to home, come see some of the world's greatest pilots. Less than $100, you can't beat it.
That extra money that we'd be spending in Disneyland, we're helping pay towards our mortgage, keeping us in our house.
That's stunt pilot Michael Goulian. He took me up.
The whole idea of the air show is to give the audience a thrill. And oh, what a thrill.
It's quite breathtaking to come. It's very patriotic, it's emotional, and it's an amazing event.
For those on the ground, for those in the air. Believe me, Army jumpers, the Golden Knights, offered a view from 13,500 feet up.
Air shows make little kids dream and make the other generations feel like little kids again, and make us really feel proud to be an American.
They'll be flying and jumping all over the country, providing cheap thrills through November. Bill Whitaker, CBS News, Salinas, California.
By the way, in case you did not notice, that was, in fact, Bill Whitaker skydiving. Talk about reporter involvement. It was his first jump. And that is the CBS Evening News. Later on CBS, a 60 Minutes tribute to its creator, Don Hewitt. Thanks for joining us this Sunday evening. I'm Russ Mitchell, CBS News in New York. Katie Couric will be in this seat tomorrow, and I'll see you first thing tomorrow on The Early Show. Good night.